Welcome to Murder of Mayhem. We have somehow managed to make it to our third episode without getting canceled.
Hey, Pete didn't kill us.
Not yet.
Not yet.
There's
Pete.
still time. We're really happy you guys actually enjoy our show, and that means a lot to us. It makes us want to keep doing it.
I love when somebody actually comes up to me and they're like, "Hey, man, I really like your show," because I've had it happen a few times now, and
It feels good.
It feels good. Thanks for watching.
Our next story is located in the town of Shelbyville, Tennessee. It's a small town with about 25,000 residents.
Much bigger than our other ones, though.
Right. It's located in Bedford County, Tennessee. It's about 60 miles southeast of Nashville, so not too far. And it's referred to as the walking horse capital of the world.
Yep.
Due to its strong association with the equestrian festivities. Every year they get together to shut down the whole town of Shelbyville and ruin it.
Yes.
People will leave the town when the walking horse celebration comes in.
Time to go on vacation.
It's time to go on vacation. Daryl Holton, the guy that we're speaking about today, he's from Shelbyville.
Right. Born November 23rd, 1961. He enlisted in the Army shortly after school. He was stationed first in Fort Jackson, North Carolina.
Right.
Wherever he was over there, he met Crystal, which is a big part of our story.
Okay.
They got married. They moved to Germany.
Okay.
And had two kids, Stephen and Brent,
okay.
in 1985 and 1987.
Which 85 is the best year to be alive.
Greatest year ever, gotta say.
So we had Brent.
And Stephen, too.
And Stephen. 85, 87. So they were getting it on. Had two kids in Germany.
Back.
Bam, bam.
Wham, bam. Thank you, ma'am.
That's right.
After Germany, they moved back to Georgia, Fort Gordon. After moving to Fort Gordon, he decided that it would be a good idea to take another tour in the Gulf War over in Saudi Arabia.
Just offered up.
As you can imagine, Crystal was not happy about this.
Ooh.
See that your husband's moving over somewhere to the other side of the world yet again.
To leave you with your kids.
To leave you with the kids to watch.
Right.
And take care of and raise.
Right.
Crystal was not happy about this.
Imagine.
I would say that she probably had postpartum depression. Because
she had two kids back to back. That'll deplete your body right there.
Yeah, because of the way she acted during this time, I think that she might have had some postpartum depression.
What gives you that idea?
Well, once he got over there stationed in Saudi Arabia, Crystal did not stay put very long. She decided to start partying, things of that sort.
She's a wild military woman.
Yeah. Which is not
uncommon.
An uncommon story.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for the guys that go overseas and take care of the country for us.
These hoes ain't loyal.
Yeah, they're just not loyal. I've watched it happen to a few friends of mine that's been in the Army.
Yeah.
So, like I say, it's not uncommon at all.
Not uncommon. So Crystal was pissed. Like, I'm not doing this alone. I'm tired of you being in the Army all over the world. I got to raise these kids. I'm not happy.
Lonely, by herself.
Right.
All the time.
So did she cheat or?
Yeah. She did end up cheating. She did end up sleeping with other people.
Imagine that.
The reason we know this is because they ended up divorcing. It was a short time. She ended up pregnant again.
With his child? Or
with
the
another
new guy?
Person's child.
Okay, the new guy's child.
The new guy did not stick around whatsoever for the kid.
Ooh, he busted out.
Daryl ended up taking responsibility for the new child.
Nice.
Her name was Kayla. Daryl was just as loving for her as he was for the other kids.
Right.
Daryl loved his kids.
Right.
Make no mistake about it. Even with the Phil side of the story, he loved his kids. He was just very misguided, it seems like. After all of this, he still decided to date, but not really. They never remarried.
So it was like an open, it's complicated kind of relationship, I'd imagine.
It seems like more of an ATM type relationship.
Oh, she was using him for money. I see.
Money and alcohol.
Right.
She liked to drink, apparently.
Yeah, she had to feed her habit.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
She liked to drink. He was getting even more and even more upset at the situation.
I imagine so.
At some point, she ended up leaving and moving to South Carolina. Hearing about this, Daryl flew back to the States and got emergency leave so he could file for emergency custody of the kids.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so after filing for emergency custody of the kids, obviously he can't watch them at the moment.
Right.
So
what do you do with them?
So his father took custody of them until he could return from Saudi Arabia.
Right. Okay.
At this point, he had custody of the kids. Crystal went to go see a cousin in Indiana, but ultimately she moved to South Carolina while the kids stayed with his dad.
Right.
She was basically MIA as far as the kids were concerned.
Okay.
He finished his tour in Saudi Arabia, came back. They were together for that 2 years. It was pretty bad.
Nice.
She was an alcoholic. She drank a whole lot and stayed out and partied still a lot of times. He used that so he could pretty much beat the crap out of her. So on both ends, it was pretty bad.
All the way around.
These poor kids. These poor kids in this story.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. Their upbringing was terrible.
So
yeah.
We have the children. We had Stephen. We had Brent.
Right.
We had Eric.
Yeah.
The hearing impaired child.
Right. He's hearing impaired.
Right. Okay.
And the child that wasn't biologically his is Kayla.
Kayla.
Yes.
So he had a little girl. During the 2 years, he raised her as if she was his own.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that I would forgive my
Yeah.
wife for cheating on me and having another child and then raising it as my own. I don't know about that.
Yeah, that seems.
That's a hard
crazy.
no
yeah,
for
it's
me.
a hard no.
That's
Very
a hard no.
Hard no. It came to a head. Finally, after a couple of years of this, I guess Crystal had enough. So she moved over to public housing in Murfreesboro. But she still kind of remained in a relationship with Daryl.
Let me guess. She wanted money still.
Right.
Ah.
Exactly. She's still drinking. She's still an alcoholic at the time. She still needed money and alcohol, so she kind of strung him along.
Right.
But he would still visit the kids every single day.
Well,
like I said, I don't think he was a bad father per se. I don't think he wanted...
He didn't want to be a bad father.
No.
He just wanted his kids.
Exactly.
Right. Gotcha.
Exactly.
And she was obviously back and forth with him for quite some time, a push and pull of custody battles and
Right.
things of that nature.
You have a custody battle between people that might not be in the best part of their lives.
Right. Yeah, they said that he had PTSD and severe depression and things of that nature. So with just that being said, I mean, there was a lot of mental illness being brought into this relationship in general.
Oh, yeah.
And the poor children.
Definitely.
I mean,
From
like
both
you
sides.
said, just drugged through this.
Right.
What a mess.
Right. The public housing wasn't the greatest spot in the world, of course. Nobody likes public housing, and it's never the greatest spot in the world.
Yeah.
Daryl was not happy about them being in public housing at all. Thoughts they should be with him.
Right.
Because it would be a better situation than where they were at.
Right.
This continued on for quite some time. She eventually found herself a new man.
Imagine that.
Got a groove back.
Crystal got a new man. It was the fall of 1997.
Yep.
Daryl wasn't happy.
No, he was not happy.
He was not happy about
happy at
a
all.
Mr. Morris Rhodes
Yep,
was
Mr.
her
Morris
new
Rhodes.
man.
He lived in Spring Hill, Tennessee. She moved in with Morris in Spring Hill, Tennessee. Her being happy was just the fuel to Daryl's fire.
I bet. He was enraged
was
by
livid.
the fact that she had moved on
He was
with
livid,
his
for
children.
sure.
They
Yeah.
needed to be with him instead. So
Exactly.
what did Daryl do?
After them moving to Spring Hill, he had no contact whatsoever with the kids.
Right.
This was because their custody battle eventually, he relented. He let Crystal have full custody and him visitation at her discretion.
Right.
This eventually ended up in a situation where he wasn't seeing his kids at all.
I bet.
She gave him a call.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this was November 30th, 1997.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been kind of upset at this. This is just an explanation of his actions, I would say.
You have to see both sides.
You have to understand the whole entire situation to understand why what happened. Now, she called him on November 30th, wanting him to take the kids out Christmas shopping so they could see him.
Right.
You don't get to see the kids until you're taking them out shopping. I mean,
this is obviously about a monetary gain.
Right, exactly. It's monetary gain. As far as I can see, she seems to be kind of a gold digger.
She ain't messing with no broke. Yeah.
Yeah.
She pissed off Daryl pretty good.
Daryl was mad.
He didn't want them calling, Mr. Rhodes daddy. None of that stuff. He'd had enough.
He thought the kids had forgotten about him in just a few short months.
Yeah.
He was that paranoid and delusional that he thought the kids would just completely forget about him and call this new guy daddy, and that was it. He didn't think that things were going to work out as far as the kids went. He thought that the kids were not going to work out as far as he thought.
Right. He was losing hope.
He was losing hope about it.
Right.
His only solution to the problem, as far as he was concerned, was to kill the kids. Kind of out of mercy, like you would a deer that you hit on the side of the road that's about to die but struggling. You'd put it out of its misery. I'm thinking that his whole train of thought there was kind of the same.
Let me put kids that I love and adore out of their misery so they don't have to live with their drunk mother. Not very good logic. And he wanted them back. He wanted to be with them.
Still giving Crystal money.
Right.
Buying her alcohol.
Sunday night in 1995, He had contemplated killing them because he felt they would be better off dead than with her. While switching custody for the week, he had demanded that she get in the car if she wanted to see the kids again.
Yeah.
She refused. Then he threatened her and said she was making a big mistake.
Yeah.
Huge mistake. So she called the police.
He happens to have a police scanner in his car that he listens to all the time. So he heard the call go out.
Right.
When he heard the call go out, since he had all the kids with him, he knew that it would be best if he just went ahead and turned the kids in.
Right.
So he went straight to a police station, let the kids go with no incident, and stopped the plan for the night. His original idea was to kill her and the kids that night. He was packing a Derringer pistol on it.
He ended up staying with DCS for a short amount of time, nothing too significant at least.
Right.
Then the kids went back in Crystal's care on February 27th of 1996.
Yeah.
So the incident happened in 1995. In 1996, she finally got the kids back.
Yeah, full custody.
Full custody. He told her if she took his kids, she would regret it.
Yeah.
He said, I'll do visitation at your discretion. And it went well for a while.
Yeah, about a year.
Went great. Until fall of 1997, Crystal got an order of protection against him because he was obviously being pretty intrusive in her life. Threatening,
yeah,
very violent. She never made Daryl aware of where they went.
I wouldn't either.
And she didn't tell him where the kids were until the day that he found them and committed the murders.
Yeah.
Around Christmas, all of a sudden, he was allowed to take them shopping.
What they actually did after he picked them up was go to a McDonald's.
Okay.
And he took them to an arcade too as well. So
That's cool.
I guess they did have a little bit of fun before the incidents. He was living at an auto repair shop that he was working at the time. He took the kids there. He told them that he had something he wanted to show them. He gave the kids a hammer and another tool to play with up front so they could be banging around, making all kinds of noise.
Yeah.
He took 2 of the kids, told them he wanted to show them something, and that was in the back. When he took the kids to the back, he told them to put their hands over their eyes and not peek. After doing this, he placed them one in front of the other. When he placed them one in front of the other, he said he did that so he could take one shot and kill them both at the same time.
Did he?
He grabbed an SKS, which he had hidden in the shop before they got there, and took one shot, killed the both of them, and hid them under a tarp. Sorry if this is kind of graphic, guys, but it is what happened.
We do take deep dives into these subjects, and it is triggering to some folks. So we do apologize. Trigger warning, definitely, for the graphic details. But this is part of it.
Right.
We have to cover the details as well.
Exactly.
And give you a vivid story on what happened.
Now, I won't say the same things again. The other 2 children basically met the same fate. What was to happen after that was even crazier. He took, before leaving, the SKS and also 5 firebombs he had made. The firebombs he had made were sort of like Molotov cocktails. He intended to ride to Mr. Morris's house, firebomb it, set it on fire, and then head to Murfreesboro afterwards and shoot his daughter. When he got through killing the children, he realized that he wouldn't have enough time to complete all this.
Right.
Realizing that he wouldn't have enough time to complete all of this before ultimately being caught, he went to the police station yet again and turned himself in.
Yeah.
Very strange situation whenever he got to the police station. He was very calm.
So weird.
Very, very strangely calm.
Just reporting the killing of your 4 children just so calmly, like, just killed my kids.
He went up to the window and told them that he wanted to report a homicide times 4. After bringing a detective down, he described in great detail to the detective what had happened, what he had done, and where the children were. Yeah. What was in his car.
He also wanted to commit suicide after he killed the children. So
that was part of the plan.
But he didn't have enough time to execute his whole plan. So he ended up going to the police instead and just admitting to his crime.
Missing out on the rest of his plan, thankfully, because if that had happened, we would have seen 3 more people dead at the very least.
Right.
I'm just so glad he wasn't able to do all of that.
Right, yeah.
But mental illness really comes into play here. Nobody murders people and then just comes in coolly and calmly and just says, hey, I murdered all of these people. You should probably arrest me. He
was actually locked up into Riverbend Maximum Security Prison in Nashville, Tennessee, following his confession while he was awaiting trial.
Right.
The prison opened in 1989 and replaced its 100-year-old neighbor, the Tennessee State Penitentiary, which is made up by 20 different buildings. And it sits on 132 acres.
It's a terrifying place to know that you're getting sent to.
Yeah, it has a capacity of 714 offenders. Of that number, 480 are classified as high risk. And we're talking maximum security.
Well, there's a reason why they're
23-1. Yeah, they've murdered. So the majority of these folks, they've probably done some very heinous, violent crime. So this prison in general just houses hundreds of violent offenders.
Scary prison.
Very scary.
Not only because of the inmates, but it's very scary to a lot of prisoners because of Old Sparky.
An Old Smoky, apparently. I've
Yeah.
heard both names.
Really?
I have.
Back in the day, executions were considered a form of entertainment, so I guess I can understand where the names come from.
Well, I guess we didn't fall too far off, did we? We're
Not at all.
entertaining with murder.
Yeah, I guess things don't change very much.
And that's why we need our tractor from Tractor Town.
You thought we'd forget about you today, but no, we didn't. We didn't at all. You're still going to sponsor us. Right? Right?
Right?
Again. Kidding.
Kidding.
Just kidding. Anyways, you guys thought we weren't going to tie that in today, huh?
I was waiting. I was waiting for a moment. So you said he confessed.
Right.
So the trial was actually really short.
Yeah, it's pretty short. There really wasn't a whole lot to defend or even prosecute due to the fact of his confession.
Yeah, he
was guilty.
Was like,
He
I'm guilty.
says that he's guilty. He's not at all refuting the fact that he killed 4 kids.
He wasn't remorseful even.
But he intended to tell them and to get punished for it.
Yeah.
He actually refused to have a lawyer at first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he refused altogether, but the court made him get a lawyer.
Yeah.
They had an inkling that he may have had some kind of mental illness, which he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that he needed representation, even though he thought that he did not.
Right.
Or was fixed on the idea of not having representation.
Right.
In his mind, he wanted the death penalty.
Well, because he was going to commit suicide anyway.
Exactly.
So it was like, this is just my relief, I'm sure.
Right.
Like, this is what I wanted to do anyway.
Right.
So,
which
whatever.
A lot of people were against just because of the simple fact that he wanted it. I've never agreed with the death penalty, and it's not because it's barbaric. It's because there's no real penalty there.
Right. They don't have to sit and think about their crime for
years,
25
years,
to life.
Years on end.
They have to think about their crime as long as they sit on death row. Daryl was at Riverbend. He was on suicide watch.
Right.
Because he was already ready to kill himself, you think?
Yeah, he was ready to die.
He wanted to die.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's so controversial. He wanted to die. So what became of it?
Ultimately, it was a pretty short trial because there wasn't very much to defend.
Right.
The defense did try a few things, though.
What?
Surprisingly enough, they did try a few things. One of the biggest ones was carbon monoxide poisoning. They said that he was living in a unventilated area in a shop that produced carbon monoxide. And it could have explained him having neurological problems and him acting in the way that he did and having the thought processes that he did.
It's a theory.
It's a reach.
Yeah.
It's a very big reach. The defense did present that, and the prosecution literally recreated the scene to show that there was no way that somebody could get carbon monoxide poisoning that way.
Yeah, they had an open and shut case on this one.
Yeah, it was not something that could be defended again. They had experts come weigh in because of his mental condition.
Okay.
2 of them said that his mental condition could have had some kind of impact on his crime.
Right. So why didn't he go to an institution versus a prison?
The prosecution showed premeditation. He knew what he was doing.
Right.
He tried to kill them before when he had the Derringer. Was going to do that then.
Way premeditated.
He had this idea and this plan in his head for a very long time. There was no way around that.
Right.
He did end up getting the death penalty, which I kind of don't agree with. I think he should have got the opposite just because he wanted it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So he actually sat on death row for what, about 10 years?
Yeah, about 10 years or so.
So it was in September. He was sentenced to death September 2007, I believe. Yep. And he was electrocuted by old Smokey / Sparky. I don't know what name it is anymore. I've seen both. But
he actually requested to be electrocuted as well. He wanted the electric chair for what? To punish himself? I really don't know.
We'll never know.
mental illness, like I said, is a strange thing, and it can manifest itself in very many ways.
So I heard also when they ask him for his last meal, as they do before they're put to death, he just wanted a regular old meal from prison, and he got some riblets and whatever else, and it wasn't even, he didn't even have like this special dinner or anything.
Yeah.
And when they asked him what his last words were, he said, "I do.
And then he was electrocuted.
I do."
So he never got to say his last words. They were kind of mumbled, so they couldn't really hear him as much. So they thought that he had just mumbled something, and they went and threw the switch. When in fact his mumbling were the words that "I do have something to say," basically.
Damn, so he was cut off from what he wanted to say.
His lawyer was with him the entire time, actually.
Yeah, they said that the lawyer was there to confirm that he didn't want an appeal or a stay of execution wasn't put in place or anything of that sort. He was right there by his side.
All the way to the end.
And he was there all the way to the end. And it's such a sad case because I wish we had more help for folks like these. He just couldn't cope with his situation.
Had he gotten help, I think things may have been different.
Yeah.
Had it been spotted earlier and reported, I think things would have maybe been better.
Right.
Now, where he was staying at the auto repair shop, his brother that was with him said that he had been acting very strangely after something was taken from him. He had withdrawn a lot. He was very quiet and started to just become even more quiet and even more withdrawn and not doing his daily activities like he normally would. He slept a lot. Very much had less energy.
Right.
So you can tell that the major depression was coming.
Right.
And this is what the doctors on trial were talking about. That somebody with major depression and the kinds of mental disorders and illnesses that you can get from being at war could definitely culminate into something like this.
Absolutely. 1,097th person to be executed.
So let's keep your heads and wrap around that.
It was the first time since 1960 that someone had been executed by the electric chair in Tennessee.
Yeah, they rarely use it now. It's really more of a decoration at this point than something they normally use. Normally now it's lethal injection, from what I understand, correct?
But I do believe that they use some sort of medication that they can't produce fast enough.
Yeah.
So that's why people are sitting on death row.
Right.
They have the lack of medication.
Right. There was a controversy a little while back, I believe, about the medication and its effect on people and whether or not it was barbaric.
Right. It was inhumane because they said that one of the medications didn't work on one of the inmates, and he actually felt everything. He wasn't
struggled
numb.
For like an hour or something like that.
I don't know the exact details. So
if you know the exact details, just put it in the comments.
Send it in.
That'd be nice.
murderofmayhem@gmail.com. That concludes this week's episode.
That's pretty much it for Mr. Daryl Holton. Like I said, very sad story, very good example of mental illness and its pitfalls.
Next week
we're doing something, aren't we?
We're doing big things next week.
We're doing big things next week.
We have been working on multiple cases at one time. And just finding out about all these local cases throughout the 90s, it seems like it was really wild out here.
I found a lot from the late 90s and late 80s. Wow, there are a lot.
Boy, when Clinton was president, it was wild times. Man.
Yeah. Yeah, I did not inhale.
Did not inhale.
But seriously, keep sending us stories in, keep sending us cases in, keep sending us comments in, keep sending us anything in. Send us a picture in. I don't care.
Picture.
Send us a flower.
Yeah, send us selfies in.
Send us anything in. I don't care, man.
Yes,
really, seriously.
send us selfies.
But I will let you know this. I'm planning on doing one that we really liked when we saw it, that one of you sent us in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We want to avoid as much controversy and just upset as possible.
Yeah, drama.
The whole point of this is to have a show talking about true crime with my husband, having fun. Now, we have had a couple of upset people about some of the stories that we've covered, and we do apologize. You can. And we do apologize if we've offended any of the friends or family members of any of the families involved. That is not our intention whatsoever. We try to be as sensitive as possible when covering these stories. With that being said, we've also had a ton of great feedback, and we appreciate that.
I've gotten more feedback than I thought I would get. I honestly was not looking to get any feedback. I really didn't think that anybody would even really be watching this.
No.
And for some reason, that
I think
we've got quite a few people that like it, apparently. I don't mind talking to you guys every single week about something wild that happened. I try to do Tennessee as much as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah.
But, you know, eventually we might have to branch out.
We might get sponsors, and we might travel to another country and do true crime over there, too.
That would be cool.
For Halloween this year, we would like to do a write-in of ghost stories from you guys. So, if you want to, write in some local ghost stories that you've heard, felt, experienced. You know where they're around. You have pictures of, information, something credible that we can actually go on. Yeah. If you have anything like that, send it to us. We're going to do a whole episode about Tennessee hauntings. murderofmayhem@gmail.com, or we have a Facebook group, which is Murder of Mayhem as well. Yeah. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, any other media source, Spotify, we stream.
Yeah.
So you guys catch us every Wednesday at 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Central Standard Time.
That's right. Look.
We
y'all. Listen, Linda.
We had a good episode. I can't stand you. I cannot stand you. We had a good episode. And we'll see y'all next week. Bye.